This is Raising Tech, your guide to understanding the role technology plays in your community, where to invest to transform culture, and how to bring your team and residents along the journey. Sponsored by Parasol Alliance, your senior living tech partner. Tune in to explore the latest tech trends, dive into hot topics, and hear from industry experts, community leaders, and innovative vendors shaping the senior living tech landscape. Welcome back to another episode of Raising Tech. Today, I'm excited to introduce Kitboga. Kitboga is a content creator and founder of Seraph Secure. Kitboga has 3.74 million YouTube subscribers and over 1 billion views, that is with a B, across all of his social platforms. I'm happy to say I'm actually one of those 3.74 million subscribers, and Kitboga has taught me so much about scams in a fun and entertaining way, and I've even sent some of his videos to my family that definitely reach out to me because they think that they're getting hacked at times. So thanks for joining me today, Kitboga.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. And that's so cool to hear that you have even shared it with your family. That's like the dream.
Yeah, of course. My mom reaches out to me. It's probably at least once per month on certain things. And I'm just like, Mom, have you ever done that? Because like people are threatening to release videos of her. She's like, no, I've never done that. Then like, don't worry about it. Like, you're
Yeah.
fine. Yeah. So, Kitboga, for listeners who might not be familiar with your work, can you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and how you got started in the world of scam baiting?
Yeah. And perhaps if people don't know, so scam baiting is a term used to essentially reverse the scam or make scammers, bait scammers into believing that you're a victim. So the concept is I play the perfect victim and try to waste the scammer's time, try to get information out of them, see if I can get like a bank account that they use in the US to report to bank fraud and law enforcement, and then just have some fun along the way and maybe get some revenge. So oftentimes I'll change my voice or something to sound older, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been 8 years now that I've been doing it. I don't know how long ago you started watching, but it's been, yeah, 8 years.
Yeah, I went down a positive rabbit hole with you probably about 3 or 4 years ago,
Cool.
and
Yeah.
I typically put you on in the background if I'm like up late doing work and stuff. So, but yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you asked how I got started. It was kind of an accident. I just found out about tech support scams, the guys who pretend to be Microsoft or something and say that there's a virus on your computer. And my background is software engineering. My grandparents had Alzheimer's, dementia, and they had gotten taken advantage of a lot. So I heard about this tech support scam, and I'm thinking, if I'm a millennial who's on the internet all day and a software engineer, and I didn't know about the tech support scam, like my grandparents and my parents definitely don't know about the tech support scam. And that was sort of the catalyst that made me feel like I got to do something. I have to try to call these guys. I have to try to educate people about it to keep my family safe and other people's families safe.
It's always awesome when you can take that and just do like the most positive form of revenge, I would like to think. I mean, and really doing this and you're like a modern day Avenger, I would like to think, in terms of
Gosh,
like
thank
what,
you.
yeah. And I'm wondering, like, because obviously you've been doing this, 7, 8 years you have mentioned, and really been on the forefront of this. And I'm wondering, like, how you've seen types of scams evolved recently, and what are some of the most dangerous or sophisticated ones that you're seeing today?
Yeah, I would say one of the big things that have changed is the dollar amount and how aggressive scammers are at not just asking for the $500 Google Play gift card or something like that. It's the let me gain access to your computer or let me, one way or another, socially engineer you or basically like hack your brain and trick you into giving up your life savings or something. I mean, we have scammers now that they'll impersonate Charles Schwab and Fidelity and places like that and make you believe that your retirement accounts have been compromised or hacked, and they're tricking you into giving up your life savings, like liquidating your entire retirement fund and sending it overseas. And so that wasn't as common, I don't think, in when I first started 8 years ago. A lot of the common scams 8 years ago was just go buy a gift card, which is still devastating, right? But it's just much higher ticket scams. And then let's say the other big one is there's international crime groups. I mean, both nationally and internationally, organized crime is involved now. I've even seen reports heard on good authority that cartels and people who used to run drugs are now realizing, like, gosh, the drug business is complicated and like messy, and we can get in a lot of trouble. Scams is easy, and we just do it from the comfort of our own home, and we can make a lot of money. And so even like organized crime groups are switching from drugs to running scams, which is wasn't as common in 8 years ago either.
Yeah, I imagine that board meeting that the cartel or some of these organized crime groups have, and like talking through that, right? I do imagine the margins are better on the scammer side, and like to your point, right? Like it's wild, but how more people involved, and I'm even thinking about my personal life where I've always prided myself in not getting scammed, but had someone
Mhm.
send me. They basically duped my friend's Venmo account, sent me a request on a Tuesday before a bachelor party, and I assumed it was for the bachelor, some special thing, and sent $150 out to him. So
Yep.
yeah, I've been scammed myself. I'm a statistic now. Yeah,
Yeah, I
not fun.
wonder, do you think that was, out of curiosity, do you think that was a random chance, or do you think that they knew that you were going to a bachelor party and stuff?
So that's the question I have, because I've only seen it happen once. I don't think we like
Mm,
posted it anywhere publicly that we were going and doing that, but it was just so the timing was so right. And basically, they just took my friend's picture, the same name, and just put an underscore at the end and just had more information to come with like the eyes. And I was like, okay, this is like a gift for the bachelor. And
yeah,
did it. And then the next morning, I texted him after I hit accept. I was like, what was that for? He's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So,
I
yeah,
wonder. Yeah, it's really interesting to me. I don't want to get you too far off track, but
no, you're good.
because there's this, it kind of relates to, yeah, how much things have changed. Some of these scams are really targeted and sophisticated, and then others are just, they're sending out volume, millions of texts, millions of emails or whatever every day. And I had a situation with my mother-in-law who knows what I do, and of course I try to educate her as much as I can. She got an email from scammers pretending to be Amazon, and it said that a treadmill had been ordered for $1,500 or whatever it was, and
Mm.
I've featured these in my videos. They want you to call and get a refund, and it turns into this whole scam. Well, my mother-in-law printed this out, and thankfully, and brought it to the house, but she was so upset and thought it was real simply because she had purchased a treadmill on Amazon a few days beforehand.
Oh, wow.
Not that one. It was just but it was complete random chance. Like, I get these emails all the time sent to me. I investigate these refund scammers like every week. But it was just random happenstance that she had purchased a treadmill on Amazon. And so now she thought it was real and was like, Kit, what do I do? I don't understand. I tried to call the number and it didn't seem legit. But anyway, I just wonder sometimes, was that Venmo request? It seems pretty targeted, but then at the same time, or they just also randomly sending out Venmos. But if it has your friend's face on there, that seems
Yeah, the same
pretty.
the same picture. So, I if I had to guess, it would be some level of target, but
Yeah.
it's tough to say. And who really knows? It might have just been him doing that and trying to get $150 out of me. Who knows?
Hey.
Um, and I know in the first answer you had mentioned about this idea of social engineering, right? And I know scammers are relying very heavily on it. And I'm just wondering, like, what tactics do they use most effectively to like manipulate their victims, and why do you think they're still so successful despite widespread awareness of
Well, I
this?
use the word social engineering a lot. I think of it almost like hacking someone's brain. It's a way to manipulate or trick someone into doing something that you want. A common trope with the scammers is to pretend to be a company that you trust, Microsoft, or I mean, maybe you don't even trust Microsoft, but if you have a Windows Microsoft computer, that's just that's some buy-in there. Maybe they'll be Amazon, maybe they'll pretend to be Venmo support or something like that. A big one and this kind of, I think, answers the question, is even though there's widespread awareness about different kinds of scams, they're always adapting and evolving and coming up with new ways to do things. So a really good recent example was there was a big Coinbase breach, I think maybe a year ago now, or 8 months, 6 months ago. So the scammers started spamming anyone and everyone. Even if you weren't involved in the breach, they just started saying that they would pretend to be Coinbase, Kraken, Binance, you name it, and say that your account has been involved in this breach. And if you saw the news about this Coinbase breach, or like you just saw a little bit of a glimpse of it, right, you're watching TV or reading Reddit or something, and this alarm bell goes off. Oh no, I'm involved. And so when you get the text message that says you've been involved in a breach or something, and you panic and call that phone number, that's all it takes now. That's like a good example of social engineering, I think, is like they connected it to a real life scenario. You have a Coinbase or Binance account or whatever it was, you call the number, and then they're going to guide you through the process of protecting your funds. Well, actually, they're just going to steal. They're actually just going to steal all your money. But it's that moment of, I don't want to necessarily say a moment of weakness, but because you can't always know what their new tactics are. But sometimes it's just right time, right place, and they take advantage of it.
Yeah, and it is, and I continue to see that more and more, and it's almost super interesting to see how like they're checking the news and then trying to like play off that and like lean into
Mm-hmm.
that. Because like to your point of like you getting emails and texts all day, I feel like I got 5 yesterday about the USPS can't deliver something for me, and it's just and it's just interesting
Yep.
how that kind of like plays off on some of those things. You might even not even think twice about it, and I know because like you had mentioned when like you're dealing with these scammers, right? A lot of them and a lot of your content too just showcases the scammers trying to gain remote access to your computer.
Sure.
And I'm just wondering, like, can you explain to our listeners why that's such a critical part of their scheme and what people should know to stay protected about that?
Yeah. So it's a good question, and it kind of even relates to the last one about education, because while there is widespread knowledge and education about scams, I don't know, it's certainly not enough. And one great example is remote access. I don't think the average person on the street, perhaps even person listening right now, realizes that scammers will try to connect to your computer or your phone, some kind of device. It's primarily they want to get on your desktop or laptop computer. And yeah, that's such a common element of scams these days. It even goes back to what I was answering before about your 401k or retirement account. Well, these scammers, sometimes it's difficult to just tell you over the phone, hi, your Fidelity account is hacked. Please move all of the money. That's somewhat difficult to do just over a phone conversation. But if they get a little bit of a way in, if they find a way, you believe that you're talking to Fidelity, maybe your account's compromised, well, then they're going to tell you something like, we need to secure your computer and make sure that there's no hackers accessing your account. So let's download this tool. And what they're relying on is you thinking that they're helping you, but they're going to have you download some kind of software. Maybe it's something like TeamViewer, AnyDesk, Screen Connect client. You might be very familiar with these names that can stay running on your computer all of the time, and they can connect to your computer at any time. And they use that to help facilitate the scam. So they can see everything that you see on your computer now. And if they ask you to log into your Fidelity account, now they see your balance, they see your recent transactions, maybe they see your name and whatever it is, your Fidelity username. So even if they don't scam you like right that second, maybe they even hang up. I've seen some of the better scammers saying like your account's secure. This was just a routine checkup. And then an hour later, 2 days later, someone calls back spoofing the Fidelity number and says, hi, I'm calling Mark Smith, and now they have your balance and your recent transactions, and it seems so much more real. And not only that, they're watching your computer still.
Mm.
So now imagine you're even more bought in because you believe that you're actually talking to Fidelity. They know everything about your account, and they're still watching your computer. And this is where, yeah, where scams get really, really scary really fast. I don't know how much you've run into that in your line of work with remote access or not. I
Not
know I'm
so
putting you on the
much.
spot.
No, you're good. You're good. And it's funny because like I work for an IT company. I'm definitely not the IT person here. So I typically reserve that for the people that actually know what they're doing. My tech support
Sure.
is just unplug it and plug it back in.
Nice.
Um, but I know there is a level of remote support that we'll do, especially on the enterprise side, because we need a help on that side.
Sure.
But
And it's like a
it
legitimate tool.
right.
To me, it's kind of the elephant in the room at times because I want to say it was just billions of dollars last year lost specifically to tech support scams and in the US. And they rely so much on that remote connection. But when you go to the FTC website right now, or you go to FBI.gov or different places to find out what to do when you've been scammed, if you go to your bank, what to do when I've been scammed, they'll tell you, like, run Windows Defender. Like, make sure you update your computer. But that doesn't remove these remote connections. So the other thing that we find is it increases the chances of someone being victimized multiple times.
Mm.
We've had we work with law enforcement, and I've had on multiple occasions, Matt, the sheriffs or police departments or whatever say, we were at someone's house responding to a call about them being scammed, and we watched the scammers, like they were filling out the IC3.gov report, the victim was, and we noticed the scammer moving the mouse, and while we were still at their house, the scammers called back in from the local police department number and said, like, sir, we see that you just got scammed and you filled out the IC.gov report. I'm here to help. And if it weren't for the sheriff being there, right, now the victim thinks they're getting help from, so it's because they were still connected to the computer. So even if you knew you got scammed, imagine you just lost a whole bunch of money, you know you got scammed, and now you're doing everything right, trying to report it to the police or something. The scammers can just, if they have that remote connection, they can just keep scamming you again and again and again. It's really scary.
That is scary. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy that they're able to do that. Oh my gosh, this is like, oh man, that's crazy. And I imagine too with like scams have even gotten better with AI, right? I think using
Mm.
AI, we always talk about like ChatGPT and productivity and all that stuff, but I imagine that scammers are using AI in both attacks, but then on the other side, I know people are using it for defenses now,
Hmm.
which I know you are, which is an awesome video. I definitely suggest anybody going checking that out. But I'm wondering like are scammers beginning to use AI bots in noticeable ways? And then on the flip side, how are you or others using AI to fight back?
Yeah, it's a it opens up I don't want to say a can of worms, but lots of things come to my mind. In some ways, AI isn't even required because they're still using scam attacks that they were using 10 years ago. Even before I started, the fake virus pop up to convince you that you need to talk to Microsoft is, a decade old, and it's barely changed. So on one hand, I would say they don't even need AI, but which is a sad state of our awareness about scams and right. But on the other hand, I am seeing them use AI to do things like change their voice, change their accent, deep faking things. If people aren't familiar with, I think most people know the concept of deep fake, but the idea is basically changing your face or changing your voice. This can be done in real time now or near real time. So I'm this would have been a good opportunity for me to change my face really quick, but I don't have it pulled up right now. But yeah, even in Zoom calls, and there's been really high ticket fraud cases. Right now, it's usually targeting like big firms. I was just talking to somebody A good example is if you're the CFO or you're making some big transfer, maybe you work in real estate. I was talking to this guy who it's normal for them to be wiring significant sums of money for these real estate purchases or something like that. And, get on a Zoom call, make sure everything's squared away just to verify right before you send the $100,000 or something. They had someone deep fake the CFO and get on a
Yeah.
Zoom, even get on a Zoom call and say, yes, this information is correct. You need to send it to this bank account. And the accounting team sent it to the bank account. I mean, it was the CFO. It looked just like him. And so that's definitely happening. Things like grandparent scams where the scammer calls you and says, little Timmy caused a car accident and hurt somebody and now he's going to prison. Now they can take a 15-second Instagram clip of your grandkid and clone their voice. So you hear your own grandchild saying, like, please, grandma, help me. I don't want to go to prison or something. So they're certainly starting to use it. In terms of fighting back, we're trying to use similar tech to sort of fight fire with fire. One thing that we've been doing, which I think you were referencing the video, is running AI bots that like are trained off of some of my calls and some of my voices, where they essentially can have a phone conversation. Yeah, I think that's the one you were referring to, right?
Yeah, and I rewatched it this morning. It was like honestly cracking up when the one AI bot was just talking about like his book and like how he wanted to market it and just like was going super in depth with that. And it was just, comical, but also like entertaining and educational all at the same time. So,
Yeah,
yeah, it was awesome.
yeah. I'll turn a few on just in case we were doing some testing this morning because we're trying to improve them. But usually, what happens is on any given day, we just have a couple phone calls going, and when we know about a group of scammers, then instead of it being like just me calling a scammer and trying to waste their time or trying to get information about it, you can imagine, let's say there's a call center with, 10 people and they're all trying to convince someone, to liquidate their Fidelity account or whatever example you want to use, the fake Microsoft support place. Well, now we can have 10 AI bots that sound like a human, like sound like a real person interested in their offer, call them. And now we've had these guys spend hours on the phone with bots instead of talking to potential victims. So yeah, I think it's going to be a cat and mouse game. I'm sure there's going to be a time in the near future where it's like bots versus like maybe scammer bots versus anti-scamming bots. Who knows? But we're trying to stay ahead of the game and like be at the forefront of fighting back.
Yeah, and I love that. And and speaking on being on the forefront and fighting back, because I know you've always been a big advocate for tools and tech that can help combat scams. I'm wondering if you
Mm,
could tell us a little bit about Seraph Secure and kind of that journey and how it differs from some of the traditional cybersecurity tools, especially in the realm of prevention.
yeah. Yeah. So my background in software engineering, like I said, so I think building tech is like second nature to me. Building the AI bots. So going back to the remote connections, I think is a really good tie-in. Not enough people are aware of these remote connections, and there's not enough solutions for how to stop it. So when we first founded Seraph Secure about 2 years ago, it was inspired by a friend of ours had they were about to wire $30,000. Their parents were about to wire $30,000. Went to the bank, and thankfully the bank teller stopped them. They said, "We're pretty sure this is a scam." So they called me and they said, "Kit, what do I do? I know that I've been scammed, but now what?" And there's a lot of emotion, a lot of fear. They're crying and worked up. And I'm trying to explain to them over the phone. Some of your audience might be tech related, like cyber security related. Imagine describing to someone over the phone, or maybe you do this regularly, exactly what to do to get a scammer off your computer. And this is someone that's not tech savvy. This is someone that's flustered, who thinks they're being scammed. They're terrified of what's going to happen when they get back to their computer. And we're like, this is crazy. I can't, like, I'm trying to tell her how to turn her internet connection off so the scammers can't still be on her computer while we clean up her computer. And she was having a really hard time with it. And we thought, gosh, we need to make a tool, like a triage type tool where like law enforcement or IT professionals or family members, if somebody gets scammed, they can just run this piece of software and clean all of the remote connections off the computer, make sure that there are no scammers on the computer anymore. So we built that, and in the process of building it, and this is a free tool, by the way. We just wanted to like help the world, right? It didn't exist. It's still the only thing that we know of that exists to clean up after a scam. And in the process of building it, we were like, wait, why only do this after a scam? Why only do it retroactively? We could be, to your term, proactive about it. So if my mom has Seraph Secure running, if your family has this running, if a business has this running, now when a scammer tries to connect to a computer and install one of these remote connections, you'll be prompted with a warning that says if someone's on the phone telling you to install this tool, they're likely trying to scam you. And it just will not allow them to connect to your computer anymore. And that feature alone has stopped so many scams. I'm really excited to say, because so many scammers rely on being able to connect to your computer. So yeah, the big thing about Seraph has just been trying to take the guesswork away, keeping people's families safe. Like I said in the beginning, my grandparents had dementia. Alzheimer's runs in my mom's side of the family. If I'm honest, as my mom is aging, I kind of have in the back of my mind that will perhaps be something that we'll be dealing with in the near future. And I don't want my mom to have to come even close to these scammers that we're dealing with, these scammers that we're talking about. And that's really at the heart of what our software does, is making it so my mom doesn't have to stay educated about all the scam tactics. We block scam websites. We do the best we can to protect someone from scams. And I don't think there's anything out there like it on the market right now. I know that sounds salesy, but there's antiviruses, right? And there's things like anti-malware, anti-ransomware. There really isn't a comprehensive anti-scam tool. So that's why we built it.
Yeah, and I love that. And I know you've got like a freemium model too. So, hey, it's awesome that you're able to put out some good into the world. And it's kind of funny thinking through some of these stories you've shared where, your loved ones are able to contact you directly. But this is like getting Kitboga in everyone's phone, right? Like they're not reaching out to you directly, but they get this extra level of security guidance, right, to help them with that. And it's just so important. And I think with the aging demographics, we're only going to see these scams continue to get more intense, complex, because they're finding success with it, right? So, why wouldn't they double down? So,
yeah. And another feature we added recently is we warn you if a website is suspicious, even if we don't know if it's a scam. Let's say, I'll give you a good example. Let's say there's a website that's 2 days old, and you're about to get your credit card out and pay for something like that. To me, is just, there should be alarm bells going off. That's like a massive red flag. So the UPS delivery type scams, like those sorts of, let's say they change their template and they use different language and there's no way to like detect this with heuristics and whatever, brand new, no one's ever seen it before, but it's going to be, a day old. And so if you get a message telling you to go pay your bill or whatever, you're going to get an alert that at least says, hey, this website is like a day old. You need to be really careful before you start getting your credit card out or giving your personal information away. And even that, we're finding, is enough for someone to avoid potential disaster, like phishing or something like a phishing attack. Even someone that works with us, they were trying to renew their passport, and the first result on Google when they had searched for passport renewal form or something was a fake US passport website running ads on Google. And they started filling out, they like started typing their name, and then all of a sudden I got the alert from Seraph Secure that was like, this website's actually 3 days old or whatever. And they're like, oh my gosh, I would have filled out all of my information. So I bring that up just to say whether they're like super sophisticated targeted attacks at an older demographic or even some like our age, anyone can benefit from something like that.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I know I had mentioned before the modern day Avenger. You're like Tony Stark building this stuff for the people, man. So thank you for
Yeah,
doing
no,
that.
it's my honor. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, one thing I think your content does so well is just really showcasing the human side of this issue. I know you've shared this
Mm.
story in other places. I know you've shared some stories with us already, but I'm wondering if there's any like one victim story that really stuck with you and, if it reveals anything about the bigger problem.
Yeah. Yes. So there's a guy named Edwin who we helped who truly believed. So I'll try to give like the really quick story, but he his wife had Parkinson's. He's taking care of her for years, and to kind of pass the time together, they were really big fans of Emma Watson in some movies. And so they would go on. They thought they found Emma Watson on Facebook,
Wow.
and it was this fake scammer pretending to be Emma Watson. And when she was, his wife is there on he described it as on her sick bed together. They would both chat with Emma. It was like something they did together. They thought they were pen pals with Emma Watson. And they did this for apparently like 2 or 3 years.
Wow.
Wife passes away. And this is what gets me so like, I don't know. It's like you want to cry or you just want to yell. The scammer waited until his wife passed away to like really sink their teeth in and start exploiting the guy. So as soon as wife passes away, he posts about it on Facebook, of course. Now Emma Watson starts like going in for the kill and really being there for him and always around to talk fake Emma Watson, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And they like start a little bit of a relationship together, like friends, and then it gets a little bit more romantic. And the guy ends up thinking that he oh, and this is, sorry if I'm going on too long, feel free to is he even said, he was like, my wife gave me her blessing before she passed away to like to keep talking to her because she knew that I was going to be alone. But the long story short, because I could go on for a while, is he really believed that he was starting a new life together with this person that he talked to for years, and he was putting money aside, like so he started like moving money to a bank in the UK because that's where she lives, right? And he was going to move there, and it was just like I think about a few $100,000 that he over the course of a few years that he had lost. But he didn't know. He thought that he was about to move and start a new life with this person. So thankfully we were able to help him and tell him about the scam and stop like further funds from being moved and get him some help. But maybe it goes to that bigger problem of, in some cases, it's like, oh, there's people who are alone or people that like, yeah, right time, right place. Like those scammers just like just imagine an animal like stalking its prey. Like that person was just, that scammer was waiting for the right time to strike. But
It's real stories that people are really dealing with, right? Like I've seen some of those stories of people pretending to be people on Facebook and even, scamming people around our age, younger than us, right? Pretending to be people, catfishing. That was a big
yeah.
story and like MTV, right? But like people are using that as a way to like get money because things are tied up in customs and, they're stuck
Hmm.
somewhere. And, this famous MLB player is reaching out to me and needs my help. So I'm going to go help him, right? And I think
Yeah.
awareness is key. And it's sometimes tough to take a step out and like realize what's going on here in some of those things.
Yeah.
And my last question here for you, Mr. Boga, Kit Boga. Well, with so much of this tech involved, right? It can be easy to forget that awareness is still our best defense. And I'm wondering if there's like a few practical things people can do right now to protect themselves or their loved ones.
Yeah. And, I'll kind of answer that starting with a little bit of something that popped into my head based off what you just said, which is I've been trying, I don't know exactly how to do this, but I've been trying to help raise awareness or get a bit of a fire going in people that, I'm trying to think of how to word this correctly, but I think if we were to do this, Matt, if we went on the street today and started asking people about scams, I think that my assumption from talking to just lots of people about this is that the average person doesn't realize how insidious and how targeted and how much of an attack it is. So when you think of scam, I think you think of the Nigerian prince email.
Mm.
And even when I was talking about that, it popped in my head because I was talking about Edwin and Emma Watson on Facebook. And I know, because I've had the same reaction, I know that there's going to be someone who hears that story and it's like, who would ever think that they're talking to Emma Watson, or who would ever think that they're talking to the MLB player? It's like the problem is like that's the mentality that people have with scams. And I'm trying to figure out, like, how do we break that spell? How do we educate and make people aware of the fact that, like, maybe you wouldn't fall for Emma Watson, right? Maybe you're not in that place where you're lonely or you're not as old or whatever it is. Like, you could make whatever excuse you want. You won't fall for that Emma Watson scam. But when somebody says that maybe you're like a gamer, and when someone messages you on Discord, someone sends you a Venmo request.
Exactly. I thought I was above your same thing,
Yeah.
right? Like, I never happened to me. Like, I'm smart. I understand tech, and they got
Mm-hmm.
me. It's not,
Yeah,
it was a stupid tax, but I learned, right? Like, so yeah.
When you hear the word hack, like if you said, "Kid, I got hacked the other day," or "Kid, someone broke into my house," there's this feeling that you get, I think, that is, you were wronged. Like, you did nothing wrong. Someone attacked you. Someone viciously targeted you and broke into your house or broke into your computer or whatever it is. But when you say scam, I think there's this like general feeling of like, oh, you're stupid. Like, what an idiot. It's your fault for getting scammed. You should have known better. And that's part of what I hope there's somebody that I can help change the narrative that's like, no, some of these are really targeted, really sophisticated attacks. And like I said in the beginning, these are criminal organizations. That guy who pretended to be Emma Watson waited 2 years before they asked for money. That scammer, it's his job, right? Like, he hunts people for a living. And I don't think that's what people think of. Sorry, I get a little passionate about that because I've just talked to, I want to say, like 40,000 scammers or something over the past 8, like lots of scammers. And so, yeah, back to your question about awareness is like, I think maybe that's part of the answer to that question is just finding ways to educate or help people be aware of, like, this is a really serious topic, and maybe to get rid of some of that. Even when I talk to law enforcement officers or different bank tellers, like, there's this general vibe of, like, yeah, people come in or they're calling us because they got scammed, and like, gosh, I can't believe they fell for this one. And I hope that we can, get away from that. And then a few practical things. You asked, okay, what could you do today? Of course, I could say, like, watch some Kitboga videos or download Seraph Secure. It's free. But apart from that, I do think genuinely just talking about it, like finding ways to talk about it, can help. That's why even saying something like watch some Kitboga videos is maybe not. I know it sounds kind of cheeky because they're my videos, but like I think sitting down, it can be hard to sit down with your family, especially like your like aging family, and say, like, even my parents, I don't want to say to my dad, like, hey, I think you might need to know about some of this stuff because you're not as tech savvy as you once were. But sitting down and watching like a video of mine that's kind of funny can help break the ice a little bit, and it gets you talking about it. There's also some really good like podcasts like this, or I hope it's okay to mention AARP has a really good podcast with scam stories. Like, so that might be a way to just break the ice and talk about it instead of it being like, okay, we're going to sit down and have a family meeting and discuss scams. Because I don't think most people want to have that conversation. And then it's also kind of difficult to just send an email like, mom, or hey buddy, hey my work colleague, here's the top 10 scams to be aware of this week. Like, I don't think most people want to get that email. So yeah, finding humor or finding like entertaining ways to talk about it, I think is a great way to start.
I love it. Kitboga, thank you so much for spending some time with us
Yeah.
today and just doing awesome work in the world. If everybody was like you, we would have no problems, I would think, but just appreciate for who you are as a person and all that you do. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
You can find us online at raisingtechpodcast.com, where you can see all of our episodes and contact us to provide feedback or submit an episode idea. We are on social media everywhere at Raising Tech Podcast. If you enjoy Raising Tech, please leave us a review and share with a friend. Music is an original production by Tim Riesig, one of our very own Parasol Alliance employees. As always, thank you for listening.